Turn up the heat, make it uncomfortable for the other party, and go all out to get what you want, right?
There's much more pre-match strategy to it than that. There's both science, the process, and art, the strategy, to negotiation. It's about understanding power and positions of play, the effects of different movements, and ultimately, how people will react. Negotiation skills are key to effective and successful procurement and everyday life.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. What do we want to achieve from a negotiation?
We want a satisfactory outcome where both parties feel that they've achieved a good deal that stands the test of time. We also want an efficient outcome, which means it's not wasted any time and no value has been left on the table. We should also feel that a two-way conversation has taken place that gives us the best foundations for the relationship that we want to build. Ultimately, our objective should be to reach an agreement that achieves our key wants, but not at the expense of more than we wanted to give away.
Right, we don't just want to reach any agreement. So, what is a procurement negotiation process? Before I go hard, that is.
Negotiation is all about preparation and planning. There's a tendency to focus on the glamorous and sometimes confrontational bits, but much of negotiation success is determined in its lead-up.
And if I don't properly prepare for negotiation, I go home?
Well, you get bad outcomes for who you are negotiating on behalf of and for yourself. You could be removed from the process and have your credibility compromised.
Let's look at an example. You're too focused on achieving a better price with a major supplier, and you find yourself stuck when the supplier just won't budge. The negotiation quickly sours to the point where you are sidelined from the process and relationships are damaged. More preparation would have provided you with the insights you needed to get yourself over that obstacle, even if it was to walk away.
Supply market profiling, relative power and positioning all come into play here. And supplier needs and wants are just as important as yours for a healthy and sustainable relationship. In our example of price negotiating, value adds were completely disregarded, but most of the time you will need to think outside of price to really succeed in a negotiation. Think about what you can exchange with suppliers. Better payment terms, longer contract duration, wider scope, access to in-house experts, joint research and development efforts.
So outcomes are directly linked to planning and preparation. Let's take a look at how best to do this. Understand your own position first.
That's right. Always go back to the basic requirements you need to meet and any key issues you must resolve. Satisfy this first and foremost. Ask some key questions like, what have you learnt from prior dealings? Are there any people that can help you or that may hinder progress? How quickly do you need to reach an agreement? What effect does this have on your approach and outcomes? What can you afford to give away versus any position you must maintain? These are your concessions. Finally, ask what it is that you don't know and what you need to do to find this out.
Then define your negotiation options based on three key aspects. Your most desired outcome, or MDO, your least acceptable agreement, or LAA, and the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, also known as BATNA. You'll need to get used to these acronyms. The MDO is the most aggressive target for each element you are negotiating. The LAA option is the bottom line of what is least acceptable to you. And the BATNA is the course of action pursued if the negotiation options did not meet the LAA. This involves implementing a different solution to solve the problem, like finding an alternative source, a different supplier, or insourcing. It might even mean eliminating use and not buying at all, or changing your requirement to fit another option altogether. Generally, the more options you have, the more power you have. In any circumstance, not defining the three key elements prior to negotiation leads to hesitation during negotiation, which puts you in a weaker position. Then you need to understand the other party's position. Here, you may need to take a best guess, but make sure it's as considered and informed as it can be.
So work out what you don't know by asking questions from different sources. The supplier is one avenue, their other customers is another. Peers across your network can be very helpful too. Remember, the other party should be doing the same, and they will have learnt from any prior dealings too.
Okay, so now we can get down to serious business and plan some game tactics.
So how do you want the negotiation to unfold? Where will the negotiation take place? Your premises, your suppliers, or somewhere neutral? And who will be involved? Will it be a solo or a team effort? Consider the message this sends to the other party. If you decide on a team approach, make sure all the team members are aligned and fully understand their roles. And what approach will you take? To what extent do you need to apply a hard adversarial approach as opposed to a softer collaborative one? Think about outcomes versus relationships and the future ongoing effects.
Implement your plan during negotiation. So, what else do I need to do before entering the negotiation room?
Have relevant questions prepared for the other party. Think about what questions they might ask you and have answers prepared. A silent position, on the other hand, can be an effective statement in itself, although it should be used wisely, as overuse does not get negotiations moving forward in the right direction. Also accept that you may be faced with the unexpected. This can be a question, response, or silence, or the general attitude and behaviours of people. No amount of preparation and planning can avoid the unknown unknowns.
Finally, don't let your approach become personal and take breaks whenever necessary. And you can always be professional and respectful, so acknowledge offers by the supplier to improve their service or product even if you don't accept. Always shake hands after the game.